sharing with you my March reading recap. I read 4 books, but then I also have a slow and steady that I'm working through that I'll mention as well. And then sharing with you cookbook that I worked through this month as well, that I'm going to do a later video on the different foods that I made out of the cookbook. So the first one that I read is Divine Rivals. And this follows Iris. She is a journalist who is hoping for a promotion at the Gazette that she's working at, but she is up against another journalist, Roman Kit. And they kind of have this rivalry going on, seeing who can get the promotion. She is also, when she goes home, she is struggling with a mother who is struggling with an addiction, older brother who went off to war, and they have not heard from him since. So in the evenings, the ways that she finds solace is she is typing letters, slipping them under her wardrobe to her brother, who she feels is her brother. Well, one day a letter comes back to her. And this is kind of moving through the story. You are going back and forth between letters as a relationship is building. This is a fantasy novel, so there is a war going on as well, and this is a war between gods. I will say, if you're new to fantasy or not sure if you like fantasy, this is a great one to start with because it wasn't overly difficult, or there wasn't a ton of world building. And I truly I didn't feel like it was a fantasy as I was reading it. It kind of felt almost like a historical fiction type magical realism story. Iris ends up going off into the war, and I don't know, it's just one of those really good, very well written books, and I would highly recommend this for anybody who likes fantasy, who likes romantasy. This is a slow burn, and there isn't a lot of romance on the page. The second book I read was Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. And this was a fun second chance romance. This is one of those romances that I would say is a palate cleanser, and there isn't a lot of spice in this book. This follows Macy. Macy is doing her pediatric residency, and she is engaged to a man who has a child. Their relationship is bland, honestly. He tends to be very involved with his child. She's very busy with her job, and there isn't a ton of interaction between them. She ends up going to have coffee with a friend, and behind her is her first and only love that she grew up with, Elliot. And they haven't spoken in years due to something that we don't know what it is has occurred. So it ends up going back to years ago, prior to this incident that occurred between them, and today, where they start to communicate and talk and kind of see where things are going to go. Definitely a palate cleanser, definitely fun, just something if you're looking for a quick read, this is a fun one. The third one I read was The Secret of Orange Blossom Cake by Rachel Linden. This is the type of book that I love to read. It's a foodie style book. Jules recreates recipes, these vintage style recipes, in this online cooking show. And her goal is to have a TV show one day. And an opportunity arises for her co-host that is on the show with her, which is her roommate. And she ends up being disappointed by this situation because she wasn't asked to be a co-host as well, and ends up going back to Italy, where she stays with her Nonna. Nonna has an old cookbook that tends to provide the right recipe at the right time. So there is some magical realism in this. And this is just kind of a fun book where you get to experience Italy with the Nonna and some romance. There is some magical realism with what recipe shows up for different people as they come into the story. And I thought this was a great one. There is also a recipe for orange blossom cake at the end. So I would recommend this if you like books about food. This is a fun one to dig into. The next one is Thunderhead by Neal Shusterman. I read Scythe a few years ago and decided to finally pick this up as I'm trying to work my way, close out all the series that I'm reading. So I picked this one up, and when I think of this, this is very different from Scythe. My son read the first one, and he started to read this and couldn't get into it. It definitely has a different feel than Scythe, but I enjoyed it just as much. And I will say that this ends on a cliffhanger, so make sure that you are ready to read the third book as well, because you will then want to immediately move into the third book, which is The Toll. So I'm not going to go too much into detail about Thunderhead, just in case you haven't read Scythe yet. So Scythe is a trilogy, and this is a dystopian world where everything has been cured. It is a world of utopia. And the Scythes are here on this world because people don't pass away, people don't get ill. So there is no way for population control at this point. So Scythes are trained and follow a guideline as to how they are going to control the population by gleaning. And the second one comes about, and this tends to be more through the Thunderhead. The Thunderhead is these cameras that follow everyone, and it ensures that people are following the rules, and it's just kind of keeping an eye on everything, making sure that everything is working as planned. And what I will say about this book is it very much made me feel like the world that we are moving into with AI, and just how the good and the bad that comes with it, and also the way the Thunderhead or the AI thinks, because the Thunderhead is basically a cloud of AI. And I just thought that was really fascinating to read as we are kind of moving forward with everything, and just questioning, like, what would our world look like if this starts to move quicker, like everybody is saying it is, and we tend to be in this type of life. So I just thought it was interesting. I would definitely recommend it. Just make sure that you read all three of them, or that you have all three of them, so that you can read through them quickly. I'll just touch on this. I am reading Slow But Steady. I'm not done with this. I'm about a quarter of the way through. I decided to start it, so I'm just slowly reading it because I read Outlander a very long time ago, and I'm just trying to, I don't want to pick it up because of the size of it. And I've noticed that I'm never picking it up because I want to read through more and more books. And I feel like this slows me down so much. So I made the decision to do a Slow But Steady, where I just kind of read a chapter or two a week. I also listen to it on my way to work, but I am enjoying it. If you know anything about the Outlander world, you will understand. This is just a beautiful story. Historical romance, there's time travel, it's filled with everything. So definitely would recommend falling into this world. Just know that most of her books are 1,000 pages long, almost 1,000 pages long, very little writing. So they are hefty. And then the last thing that I wanted to share with you is I made the decision to start moving through cookbooks each month. This month I focused on one so that I could do a review, which will be upcoming. But I will say that I think one a month is too little. I kept moving on to other things. I didn't want to make every single meal out of this, especially day after day. So next month, I'll probably move through 2 or 3 cookbooks at a time. So if you like cookbook reviews, make sure to subscribe and follow, because each month I will be talking about more cookbooks than just one. But this is the Honeysuckle Cookbook. She does have, I believe, a YouTube page, and then she's also on Instagram. And I really enjoyed this. She grew up in California and her parents are both Vietnamese. So there is some Asian style meals in here. And honestly, this was a little hit or miss for me. And I'll share, like I mentioned, I'll share that in an upcoming video. Her table of contents have morning rituals, so that's your coffees and your teas. Then she has breakfast dishes. There's some salads and soup that are seasonal. Then she moves into noodles and grains, weeknight mains, and then low and slow pressure cooking. The sidekicks are your different vegetables on the side, and then mix, mix, mix for your favorite desserts. It is an absolutely beautiful cookbook. There are beautiful pictures throughout. It definitely is one of those books that when you see the pictures, you will want to make many of these meals. I tested many of them, and like I mentioned, they are definitely a hit or a miss. There weren't a lot of in between, but some of these recipes are going to be favorites. They are things that I've learned, techniques that I've learned, or things that she recommended you do to, like, say, the meatballs. There were a couple of things that she did to the meatballs that I will make her meatballs from now on. So I would definitely say this is one to pick up. Try a few recipes, see if you like it. I definitely am going to keep it and continue to try recipes throughout the upcoming months, but I will not be working on this book for a whole month anymore. Those are the books and cookbooks that I am moving through this month. Let me know, what are some of your favorite books that you're reading right now? What cookbook should I pick up and try to cook through as well? And then make sure to subscribe to check out our upcoming reviews and join us in our community where you can have a seat at the table, where you can share the books and the food that you are loving as well.